who just broke up with a man and decided that she's really lesbian. There's a guy who's infatuated with her. She has pity sex with him at the end of the first issue, and then decides that she prefers women after all. Meanwhile, he's enraged. He starts drawing violent fantasies, involving her, and her relationship with the little blonde girl, that doesn't go well because the little girl's very manipulative, and then Kevin ends up in a compromising position with the guy, and then he has to kind of rethink his sexuality. So it's this kind of fun series around. I ended up having to publish the second two issues myself because the publisher went out of business. So I have about maybe 5 of the first issues and about half a box of the other ones. So someday I would like to have it, so I think it'd be fun for people to read, but I don't know if I want to publish it myself. But that was really kind of groundbreaking also. Let's see, what else do we have here? Okay, there's the back cover. So I was incorporating my winging it characters into the story. That's kind of I kind of have this theme through much of my creative life that involves these characters. Like, that's the second issue. Kevin's being dragged away by his, out of control fantasies, and Denise is, she's beginning to be comfortable with herself. Let's see, so, and then Bitchy Butch. Okay, now I started Naughty Bits in, how are we doing on time? I'm going on 10:40, oh fuck, 10:40, oh fuck, anyway. Sorry, yeah. Okay, anyway, I started doing Bitchy Butch for Fantagraphics. I was asked to do Bitchy Butch, like a lesbian version, which I did, and she's been a lot of fun. I think we're at the end now. Bitchy Butch World's Angriest Dyke. She's kind of a hair trigger character that she's an older lesbian who wishes for the good old days when she thinks things were simpler. And let's see, I'm sure Yetta,
I love Sexuality.
Yeah. And let's see, yeah, we're coming up to the end now. So this, Bitchy Butch, she's fun. She definitely needs to be in my collection. She's definitely not what you call a politically correct character. So. Let's see, and this is, I've had kind of a busy life lately, so I've mostly been doing short pieces instead of, I've got a lot of projects I really want to work on, like I've got a big, LGBT YA novel spin-off from Winging It, That's Mother Mountain, that I want to start publishing, because it's really good, and I've got, it's, it has a lot of my kind of lifelong issue, themes in it. And this was just a little short thing I did for the Alphabet Anthology that was, basically, my character and Bitchy Butch arguing about the whole, because she wants everything to be traditional. I'm just like, I want everybody. I believe in LGBT and everybody. I'm not trans exclusionary. I think a lot of it is just like basically trying to break up the LGBT, collaboration that we've had for so long. And that's a short story.
Right-wing hackers.
Oh, definitely. And then, this is another story I did, which is Let Them Pee, yeah. This was when the bathroom issue was big, because if somebody has to go in and use the bathroom, I don't care what they look like in that stall next door. They need to go, and they're going to wash their hands and get out like I do. So this is on the theme of Let It Be. When you walk into the ladies' room and a big bald gal is what you see, take a breath and chill out, let them pee. When you can't tell if that woman waiting for you still might be a he, mind your effing business, let them pee. So anyway, so I'm going to get off of here and I'm sorry, I'm going to let other people talk. Sorry.
Donna's used to it.
Yeah. Okay, you're welcome. Yeah, well, the last year I was up to 1980 last year because Donna got carried away. So there we go. Sorry. I was doing my retrospective. I got to 1980.
I got 10 minutes.
I'm sorry.
Okay, real quick, I want to say something that I am often called underground, and that's not what I am. I'm actually self-invented, original, isolated. I lived rural, and I only had a few influences, but they influenced me specifically. First of all, comic strips. I was fond of Gordo, then Mad Magazine, and also there's another one. Anyway, and Kipling. Now I'll tell you what they actually gave me. Gordo gave me layout and word balloons, and Mad Magazine gave me that you were allowed to do any kind of satire, politically, whatever you like. Kipling, of course, gave me grammar, spelling, proper use of the English language, and also the fact that you can write about anything you want. If you get a chance, go back and read Kipling because he's terribly feminist, and also, since he was a big opium head, that's why all the animals talk. So anyway, I'm out in the woods by myself. My dad works at Scott Paper, and he's bringing all these papers home. Now, in 1954, I started to draw in my mother's checkbook. And in 1962, I started to write and I started to put them together. Now, I want to tell you something right now. You're probably going to be terrified, but the first thing I was drawing was German soldiers. I have since found that there are many, many, many girls drawing German soldiers, and we don't know why. No, it's not reincarnation. We'd like to think it, but yes. So, the thing was, I didn't know there were gay people. I was raised Catholic. I'm still recovering Catholic because that moment in Deadpool, you know, meant. Let's take a look at a couple odd things I've got here. I don't even know what I got. This is what I was drawing though after I was in the Army. Okay, I originally did about that much artwork based on my dad's papers that he brought home. And then when I joined the Army, I'm like many girls who didn't like their original production and I burned them. I've seen a few pieces and boy did they deserve it. So this is not coming out of nowhere. But these stories were very complex, very strange. They had a lot to do with gender. They had a lot to do with this weird Reich I made up that lasted 500 years. And depending on which end you were at, either they were white people were throwing everybody into concentration camps, or at the end of it, everybody was included and it got weirder than it could possibly be. I'm one of the few people who knows how the Third Reich actually happened, which is why I've been warning everybody for 30 years. So this is very strange. I mean, I'd have like a couple of German soldiers who would be transferred to another world, and one of them would become a hermaphrodite. I don't know where I got the idea of a hermaphrodite. I just started sticking body parts together. And in that world, hermaphrodites were sold as slaves, which set up a whole new dynamic with them. So when they got back, the slave was the officer. So that messed up their relationship when they got back. There were many gay situations. I didn't know about any of this. I was just studying it. I was working on stories about race, about gender, and I had no clue at all about any of it. I mean, I had, black people in the German army and Jewish people in the German army, which, by the way, they both served. They did. It was because the idiotic Nuremberg laws, German soldiers who were, quote, Jewish were allowed, or German were allowed to visit their Jewish relatives in the camps until those closed down. They got locked up because everybody went to the war. Anyway, this is what I did as far as gender studies went, and the Desert Peach, which I do, which everybody thinks it's about a gay Nazi. First of all, I have a complicated situation in which he is not a Nazi officer. Let me see if I know how to do this. I'm trying to get back to where I belong.
Just exit out of that.
Exit out of this. But the most important thing I do, what are we doing here?
That button right here. This one.
That one, okay, sorry, this is not my keyboard. But I do the Desert Peach, which, everybody thinks is about being gay, and it's really not, because the Desert Peach is, it's about surviving in the military. I spent 3 years in the Army. And I did these massive black manuscripts with 1,600 pages with 2,000 words on the page, and they're all over at the San Diego State University right now, and they're considered very strange. I kind of invented the whole form. When I got into comic books, that's a long story, but I had to relearn how to lay out comic book pages. I didn't know how. Now, this scene right here where he's being very, quote, feminine, there's a joke on that, because in the German and the British armies, a feminine acting person was a cavalier, and they were anything but gay. So the joke here is that by acting in a very, what we would call femme way, he's actually covering. He's acting like somebody would be considered very masculine. But that's simply the cavalier tradition. And also, and I'm going for another stereotype, the Schwabians, his brother and he, who is Rommel, speak Schwabian to each other, and when you speak Schwabian, you lisp. So I hit another stereotype in that he only lisps because that's his home dialect. So I slapped the stereotypes down. There's some other things here. Here's another gender thing going on, which is, come on you. How do I get this open? Here we go. This deals with gender